Hello everyone! Hopefully you're doing alright today. My name is Kat. Today we're going to talk about a subject that I'm really concerned about, and that I've actually, because I have pets, and a lot of you out there have pets, and with everything going on with these shots, it's affecting our pets as well, and they are killing our pets as well as us with this crap. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to post this one on YouTube. It'll be on BitChute. So anyway, I did have a little transmission the other morning when I was in between my being asleep and awake, and I heard a voice say, "It's coming to an end." So there was a post on the backboard, letter 17 backboard, that someone had posted again the other day about it coming to an end. So it just reiterated and reassured me that things are coming to a head. There's a lot of things going on right now in the world, and yeah, things are coming to an end. So anyway, but today I want to talk about vaccines with pets. It's been going on for a long time, and I recently noticed, because I have 2 dogs, 2 big Alaskan Malamutes, and I have 3 cats. I just got a kitten a couple months ago because I lost 2 of my cats over the last year, within a year, in the same year, basically. They were 14 years old. I mean, they were older, but all my animals are indoors, so they don't go outside. And every time, I've been to the vet so many times over the past year, it's insane. I've spent thousands of dollars. I have a cat who's diabetic, and was diagnosed 2 or 3 years ago. So I have a daughter who's diabetic, and I have a cat who's diabetic. And then one of my Malamutes actually has an autoimmune issue where his nose, I think it's called hyperkeratosis, and basically their nose gets scaly and very sensitive, and they can't sit out in the sun for a whole lot, so it's kind of like their nose gets sunburnt, but it flakes off in these big flakes. And that poor dog, I've tried everything in his diet. I've tried to switch up foods. It doesn't seem to change. It seems to get worse in the summertime and when it's too cold in the winter. But there again, like I said, they're inside all the time. So when I found some of these articles about vaccinating your pets, it just made me realize not only are they making us sick, but they're making our pets sick. So I'm going to read you some of these, and I'll put the link below. This article was from July 2005, so 16 years ago. It says, still vaccinating your pet every year? Vaccinations have saved many pets' lives over the years, but they aren't without risk. Now, with new research showing that immunity may last longer than once thought, veterinary experts say it's safer to decrease the frequency of most shots that typically have been given every year. Side effects from vaccinations range from mild itching and swelling to anaphylactic shock leading to death. Cats may develop vaccine sarcomas, which are cancers that develop at the site of the injection, and dogs may develop certain autoimmune diseases. Veterinarians have suspected for years that annual vaccinations for cats and dogs aren't necessary, but large, well-controlled studies just didn't exist to prove it one way or the other. With the exception of rabies vaccine, the U.S. Department of Agriculture doesn't require data beyond 1 year of any vaccine. With that being the case, vaccine manufacturers arbitrarily recommend annual vaccinations, and most veterinarians concerned about liability issues concurred. Sometimes immunity lasts a lifetime. More recently, however, several published studies have shown that immunity provided by some vaccines lasts for much longer than 1 year, and in some cases, for a lifetime. It's all about the money with humans and with our pets. We know that the canine distemper and parvo, for example, the immunity lasts a minimum of 5 years, probably 7 to 9 years, and for some individuals, for a lifetime, says veterinarian Gene Dodds, founder of HemoPet, the first nonprofit national blood bank program for animals located in Santa Monica, California. For cats, so far we have challenged data out 9 years showing that immunity is still protective, says Dodds. And with rabies vaccine, new data indicate the immunity lasts for at least 7 years, she says. So what does this all mean for your dog or cat? As with many other aspects of veterinary medicine, vaccinations are becoming individualized. But in most cases, fewer and less frequent vaccinations are the way to go. Most animals need only what are known as core vaccinations. Those that protect against the most common and most serious diseases. In dogs, the core vaccines are distemper, parvovirus, hepatitis, and rabies. In cats, they are the panleukopenia, I can't pronounce some of these, calicivirus, some other virus, and rabies as required by law. 3-year interval recommended. Current vaccine protocol is to properly immunize puppies and kittens with 2 or 3 doses starting later than we used to, maybe at 8 weeks and not earlier than 6 weeks, Dodd says. Then you can give a booster at 1 year and either repeat it every 3 years, stagger it by giving one vaccine per year instead of combination vaccines, or do titers instead. Titers are tests that measure the levels of antibodies in the blood, which would indicate that immunity still exists. That recommended 3-year interval was a compromised decision. Annual boosters for the core vaccinations are excessive for most dogs and cats, says veterinarian Link Wellborn of North Bay Animal and Bird Hospital in Tampa, Florida, and a member of the most recent panel of veterinarians that revised vaccination guidelines for dogs and cats. Limited studies suggest that booster vaccinations for many of the core vaccinations last for at least 7 years. However, given the limited number of animals involved in these studies, 3 years seem like the reasonable compromise. There's also an advantage to giving single rather than combination vaccines. Giving more vaccines increases the likelihood of side effects, Wellborn says. Separating vaccinations allows the veterinarian to determine which vaccine caused a side effect if one occurs. If you're concerned that your dog or cat will develop a vaccine-related health problem, but you want to make sure they're protected against disease, annual titers are an economical alternative. So there's a bunch more on that one. Just gets under my skin. These people. This one is from a magazine called Dogs Naturally Magazine. It says dangerous over-vaccination is on the rise. And this was from 2016. It says, today I'm writing about a topic that makes me want to reach for my blood pressure pill. Annual vaccination of dogs. Annual vaccination is unnecessary and dangerous for your dog. And despite what we know about the risks, it seems to be on the rise. Experts like leading veterinary immunology researcher Ronald D. Schultz, PhD, proved decades ago that most dogs will be protected for many years by one round of core vaccines as puppies, usually when they're about 16 weeks old. Did you know that in the UK, I was watching another video of a channel that I watch, and apparently dogs don't have to be vaccinated. Like, they don't fix them. They don't spay or neuter them till they're 18 months because it gives them a chance to grow. Here in the US, 6 months old. 6 months old, we are giving these shots to our pets, to our babies. You know, our human babies, the minute we birth them, they're giving them shots. And in the UK, I think they wait like 6 to 8 months before they give a baby any of their shots. What the hell? What the hell is going on? I'm sorry. I'm just very passionate about this. This table is from Dr. Schultz's research on over 1,000 dogs and shows the duration of immunity of the core vaccines from both challenge, exposure to the real virus, and serology, and antibody titer results. So there's like a chart here that you can look at. It shows you how long it lasts. Parvovirus lasts up to 7 years. Adenovirus lasts 7 to 9 years. So it just shows that, and then it says, so after their puppy shots, most dogs don't need to be revaccinated ever, let alone year after year after year. You know, you get those nice little postcards from your vet in the mail as a reminder, your dog needs shots or your cat needs shots. Most of the time, I just throw them away. I just throw them away because from now on, with all this crap going on in the world, I am not going to vaccinate my animals anymore. They are indoor. They don't go outside. You know, they don't need it. They don't need it. Dr. Schultz reports the patient receives no benefit and may be placed at serious risk when an unnecessary vaccine is given. Few or no scientific studies have demonstrated a need for cats or dogs to be revaccinated. The World Small Animal Veterinary Association, the American Animal Hospital Association, and the American Veterinary Medical Association have announced publicly that annual vaccination is unnecessary and can be harmful. But they do nothing to stop the vets from vaccinating more often than necessary. And then it has, if you're worried about your dog being over-vaccinated, have a free download you can print and bring to your vet. It outlines the immunity research by Dr. Schultz and will help you give you and your dog's veterinarian come to a healthier vaccination schedule together. So I'll put the link to this article with that link in the description below. It says, in my years of veterinary practice, I've witnessed hundreds of cases of serious vaccine damage to pets, including death. Despite what your veterinarian may tell you about the safety of vaccination, I've seen it cause dangerous, sometimes deadly, vaccine reactions and lifelong chronic illness, including autoimmune diseases and cancer. Cancer in our pets is increasing. Diabetes in our pets is increasing. When I went, every time I went to the vet to either get insulin from my cat or to bring them in for a checkup or whatever, they were feeling sick or whatever, every time I went, which was probably a good at least 8-9 times last year. Okay. Every time I went, there was someone there with their dog that either was dying or they were going to put down or had died. I'd never seen such a thing in all my life. I just cried. I cried for them. I felt so bad. It shouldn't be happening. Vaccinating annually is an extremely high-risk procedure, and it doesn't make your dog any more immune from disease. Yet in the U.S., about 60% of veterinary clinics completely ignore this research, and they still push their clients to vaccinate their dogs annually. And the rapid spread of large veterinary clinic chains is making matters much worse. There's a reason I call them shot shacks. As these corporate chains gobble up independent veterinary clinics, The trend towards over-vaccination is getting worse, not better. You'd like to think your vet's primary concern above all else is your dog's health, but you have to assume profits are the real goal when you read stories like the ones I'm about to share. And then it has like some stories from Australia. Oh, this one's a news story from Fox 45 out of Miami Valley, Ohio, and this was November of 2017. Investigates nationwide claims that pets are dying from vaccines. Thousands of people across the country are saying that their pets are dying from vaccines, or the side effects, from tumors to autoimmune diseases to cancer. Most veterinarians, however, insist vaccines are not to blame. Mary Zalewski lost her dog Bentley last year. He had been having health problems for years before she decided it all stemmed from his vaccines. He suddenly blew up, she says. He gained 10 pounds. I'm like, what's happening? We didn't change his food, she said. The fact that we kept having all these things kind of added on top of each other. So it was kind of like, what else could it be? There are different kinds of vaccines, and each state has its own set of laws and recommendations for how often your pet should receive them. In Ohio, the guidelines state that pets should receive their core vaccines, which include parvo and distemper, every 3 years. Rabies vaccines, however, are required by law every 3 years. She says, I wouldn't pummel my kid every year with these. I would be questioning, Zalewski said. We need to question for our pets. Dr. John Robb, a veterinarian based in Connecticut, says pets are being over-vaccinated as a way for the veterinary industry to make money. One thing he wants to make clear is that he said he's not against vaccines. It can be done appropriately. But what that means is that you have to inject the proper volume. Know that every single dog, regardless of weight or size, is getting the same dose of each vaccine. So a little dog who's like 10 pounds or less is getting the same dose as a dog who's 80 to 100 pounds. That's insane. That's crazy. Does that make sense to you? Zalewski said, because that little one's gonna take a hit. They're doing it repeatedly, blindedly, every 3 years, and some every year. The dogs don't have a chance. Dr. Daniel Bauer is a local veterinarian who has not only vaccinated all of his patients every year, but all of his own dogs. If you think I would do that, if you think I would do that if it would harm her or thought I was harming her, no way, impossible. Pets come into contact with a lot of leftovers that wildlife or other animals have brought by, either in their backyards or at the dog park, because they're getting big burdens of viruses and bacteria. They are more susceptible. It's preventative measures to help the pets live longer, better lives, Bauer said. In his decades-long career, he has never seen a pet experience a deadly reaction from vaccines. Dr. Robb, however, says a huge problem is that veterinarians don't always report the correct cause of death. It is not required by law that they be reported, and the last thing veterinarians want to be guilty of is giving something medically that injures their patients, so they deny it. They claim it's something else. In the medical field, it's called idiopathic, which means the cause of death is unknown. But in every case, Dr. Robb said, if you look at the pet records, you see they've been vaccinated a short time previously, so frequently. Dr. Robb recommends teeter tests. They measure whether or not your pet actually needs a vaccine. However, because of the current laws, your pet must get its rabies shot every 3 years, regardless of what the teeter says. That's where the fight is, Zalewski said. That's where my anger is. Dr. Rob is working to change the rabies laws and will be introducing legislation, excuse me, in several states. So that was a news report. So yeah, and then if you go to the dog one I said, the dog magazine, dogsnaturallymagazine.com, there's tons of articles about vaccines and what they're doing. This one has skin issues. So this was in just last month, excuse me, in July. Says skin issues often develop or get worse in dogs who've recently been vaccinated or revaccinated. This includes problems like itching, redness, allergies, eczema, yeast infections, autoimmune diseases, and so on. If you vaccinate your dog and you then notice symptoms like these develop or worsen in the weeks or months afterwards, it's highly likely that the vaccine has damaged your dog's immune system. Why is it also that you see humans, okay, and we have to take all these probiotics to help us digest our food or whatever. So we have probiotics now for our animals to help with their digestive system and their problems. What does that tell you? It tells you this crap is not good for anybody. It's not usually acute, it's a delayed adverse reaction. Your dog's body, and particularly her immune system, is very complex and sensitive. It's evolved to be able to react to pathogens in such a way that most dogs in a population survive even dangerous, deadly diseases like parvovirus. Here's something that's really important to understand. Dogs' immune systems have evolved to react to and protect dogs from disease and pathogens, virus, bacteria, etc., contracted by way of natural exposure. Natural exposure to a disease happens when a dog is exposed to a virus or bacteria particles in her environment. These particles then are taken into her body, usually by the way of the mouth or nose. Most infectious diseases attack the respiratory and digestive systems, or they may gain entry through them and then attack deeper organs. A critical dose of disease particles is required to overwhelm the immune system, reproduce in the dog's body, and cause overt disease. If there's only low-level contamination, your dog can be exposed to disease and mount an immune response without showing any signs of illness, even though the immune system has been working over time. Dogs who are exposed to pathogen and don't get ill may produce antibodies and then pass a titer test that shows they are protected from that disease, even if they've never been vaccinated. So it goes on to explain triggering immune cells, inflammation helps healing. So I'll put all these links in here, and then the last article, why are vets getting away with murder? This was in June of this year, 2021. How's that for a title? If I got your attention, that's because this topic needs your attention. It used to be that dogs visited the vet pretty rarely. They only needed a couple of vaccines. They got to eat real foods, and they weren't continually loaded with heartworm preventatives, flea and tick meds, flea and tick shampoos, dewormers, pharmaceuticals, and more. Thinking back, maybe that's why they didn't need to go to the vet all that often. Today, there's a very different veterinary clinic. We now have access to better medicine, including MRIs and more technologically advanced surgery. I think it's great that these modern and life-saving tools are available to dogs, but not all change is good. Why the veterinary profession is broken. Somewhere along the way, the veterinary profession became broken. Vets today have a lot more drugs, vaccines, and chemicals at their disposal, and all of these carry hefty side effects. Despite the advances in medicine, modern dogs are living shorter, sicker lives than their ancestors. Isn't that true? and vets aren't taking responsibility. Arguably, the most common and harmful problem in veterinary medicine is over-vaccination. Not only do the vaccines cause a lot of damage in our dogs, but nearly every vaccine vet gives our dogs is unnecessary. Pay attention to that sentence. Nearly every vaccine given to our dogs is useless. Your dog gets no benefits, but all of the risk. How could this happen? How can vets cause so much disease and devastation in our dogs without even knowing it? Vets don't understand immunology or vaccines. I paraphrase Dr. Ronald Schultz, the leading veterinary immunologist, when I say that vets are inept at making vaccine decisions. We interviewed some vets on how thorough their training was on vaccines. Here are some of the responses we got. Dr. Stephen Blake says, I was taught vaccines were safe, and it was implied there had been safety studies done on them before they were used on the general public. They are not safe, and there have not been any safety studies done on any of them. Sounds like the human ones, where they haven't done any safety tests in 32 years. Dr. Jeff Feynman says my training in vet school was not complete with regard to the harmful effects that vaccines have on the immune system. Dr. Mark Carpenter says vaccination in college was skimmed over with little discussion of potential risks involved. In practice, I have seen what I believe to be vaccine-related problems of skin disease, allergic, inflammatory bowel disease, and epilepsy, which appear to have been triggered or coincided with vaccination. So vaccines are a substance that can cause severe health issues and even death, but vets admit that they really aren't educated in their use. More importantly, most veterinary colleges are financially aligned with the pharmaceutical companies. Doesn't that sound familiar? This means most of the curriculum is pro-vaccine, with little time spent discussing the very real issue of harmful reactions and side effects. How could this happen? More is not better. Back in the 1970s, dogs were only vaccinated for 1 or 2 diseases. Today, there are vaccines for adenovirus, parainfluenza, bordetella, Lyme disease, goes on and on and on. Canine flu, and there are more and more every year. Nowadays, dogs and puppies are often vaccinated with 7 or more viruses at the same time. In the 1970s, all vaccines, with the exception of rabies vaccines, were tested for only a few weeks to a few months. So all the vaccine labels just said annual revaccination recommended because nobody spent time or money to figure out how long they would actually protect dogs. So vets vaccinated dogs every year, even though field observation suggests that immunity after both natural infection and vaccination was long-lived. The patient receives no benefit and may be placed at serious risk when an unnecessary vaccine is given, says Dr. Schultz. Few or no scientific studies have demonstrated a need for cats or dogs to be revaccinated. Dogs are either immune or they are not, and once immune, there is every indication that this protection lasts a lifetime. The distemper vaccine has been shown to last for 7 to 15 years. In fact, all the core vaccines have shown this kind of duration of immunity. I will put the links below for all these articles, and I'm sure there's probably more, but oh, my hair looks a mess today. Anyway, this should get your blood boiling too. If not for your own family and your kids, for your animals. You know, they're my furry children and I want to protect them also. There was also a news article, a video that I saw on one of my pages, my Telegram pages. There was some zoo, I think it was in Colorado somewhere, and they were actually giving to these animals. I don't think animals can catch human diseases like that. being the fact that it's never been isolated. But they're giving these lions injections. It's sickening. It's disgusting. Those animals will be dead soon. Will we hear about it? Probably not. What the hell are people thinking with this crap nowadays? So, I'm very passionate about this stuff and I wanted to speak out against it. So, put any comments below or email me if you feel the same. Just think twice, people, because, like I said, my OBGYN a long time ago, years ago, before I had my daughter, I was having endometriosis problems severely, and he wanted to give me a Lupron shot. And I already got migraines. I already have all kinds of other issues going on, okay, with issues from when I got hit by a train when I was 17. So I went home and I looked up Lupron and found out there was a class action lawsuit. Not only were they giving it to women, they were giving it to men for I don't even know what reason. But there was a huge class action lawsuit. There were several articles about it, and once I read that, I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not putting something in my body that I know I can't get out. Once it's in, you can't get it out, okay? So, do some research, people. If you have questions, it's not hard to research. Get on Google or get on your Brave or your DuckDuckGo and do some research. Type in something and you should find articles. Anyway, for the next couple days here, we're supposed to have some nice, decent weather because it's been over the hundreds for I don't know how long. We got a little bit of rain this morning, and it's still smoky though because we have fires around us still. So hopefully tomorrow it'll be really nice, and it's only supposed to be about 69 degrees, they say, but we'll see. Anyway, I hope you all got some information out of this, and just hold the line, guys. And there are days where I feel like I just want to give up, and I just feel like, I just know I want to go home. I don't want to die, but I just want to go home. I just want to be in an environment where people respect each other and nurture each other, and we can wander around with animals and not have to worry about being attacked, vice versa. But that's my world. A beautiful tropical place somewhere on a beach, I don't know. But we're gonna make it through this. It's coming to an end, and we just need to hang on. And I know it's tough, and we just have to live day by day to get through this and stand up for what is right. Whatever you think is right, stand up for it, okay? Because there's gonna be a time here probably in the next few weeks where I think we're all gonna have to march in our towns and our cities and refuse all this crap that's happening to us, okay? We have to. So, anyways, I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Have a wonderful week. I love you.